Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this Kingdom Hearts overview. If you haven't seen my overview series before, I go through the stuff in my collection. I like to see, pretty much what I've got, identify any gaps, and go through the series and let people know about some games in the series they may not know about. So today we're doing Kingdom Hearts. This is really early, but I have a lot of content planned for Kingdom Hearts 3, and I want to go through this early enough to let everyone know, the whole series and everything, all the games they may have missed. So if you don't know, Kingdom Hearts is an action RPG by Square Enix. It's a collaboration between Square Enix and Disney. The fable goes that both Disney and Square had offices in the same building somewhere in Japan, and they started talking and said, hey, it'd be really cool to do a mashup game, and they eventually got it off the ground. People may not know that Disney is actually huge in Japan. I mean, it's huge worldwide, but Japan, I think, goes especially crazy for Disney stuff, so it makes sense, and, it's a pretty great series. So let's just go through these. We start off with Kingdom Hearts 1, which came out for the PS2. This is the game that started it all. It introduces the original characters Sora, Riku, and Kairi. It introduces this universe where all the worlds have been separated from each other, and Sora travels to all the different worlds trying to find his friends. It sets the groundwork for the whole series. The action-oriented combat works really well. The story is really interesting. It introduces ideas that get taken further in the later games, and some really interesting characters and worlds. I'm not going to get too much into the story of each game, because the story for Kingdom Hearts is insane. It's really confusing, it's complicated, and I'm going to cover it in a series of videos leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3. Right after Kingdom Hearts 1, we get Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for the GBA. This is a 2D RPG where you go through several floors of Castle Oblivion with Sora losing his memories along the way. It really builds on some of the story elements introduced in the first game, and it introduces a whole bunch of villains as part of Organization 13. So right off the bat, the story is getting way more complicated. The Oblivion stuff is fine, but just having 13 new villains to worry about, I can't even remember their names after playing 3 games. It was just too much at once. But it's a fun game, and the combat is really interesting. There's this deck-based mechanic, so you set up your deck and each of your attacks uses the next card in the deck. So even though it's still an action RPG, managing your deck is important for how you play through the game. Next up here, I believe we got Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2, again, builds on everything the first game does. The story starts to get a little crazier. There's a lot of really confusing stuff that builds on the first game and Chain of Memories. There's some really interesting payoffs with characters like Roxas. But for the most part, it's just, Sora learning that everything he did in the first game doesn't matter, and he's got to do everything all over. There's way more to do with Organization 13 and the Mysterious Anthem, and there's a ton of stuff in this game. There's some stuff that goes a little crazy, but I still feel like it's a really solid entry in the series. In Japan, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 both got Final Mix versions. This was really common for Square games. Stuff like Final Fantasy did it all the time, where the games would come out over here and they'd have a couple new bosses or something extra, and then they would update those versions again and release them in Japan as the international versions. So not only would they include all of the stuff that the versions that came out over here had, they would also usually have a couple extra things, sometimes bosses. Usually they would get the English voiceovers as well if those games had voice acting. Kingdom Hearts 1 added a couple new bosses, but the Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix was something really special because it included a full 3D remake of Chain of Memories. And that's something that didn't come out here for years afterwards. I had it for a long time, but I got rid of it as soon as the next game came out, which is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. So this is basically just the Game Boy Advance game, Chain of Memories, but it's completely done in 3D. And it feels like a totally different game. I mean, the story is still the same, you're still doing the deck-based building, but I just feel like it's a better play experience. So the 2D one is still cool to check out, but I highly recommend checking out Chain of Memories too. Next up, we get into the DS era, and the first game that was released for DS is Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, and that was something that I had no idea how you're supposed to say it when it first came out. And it's not a great game, but it's an interesting side story. It shows the story of Roxas from, near the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 all the way up to Kingdom Hearts 2. And you play through his role in the organization. You play through it day by day, so you don't play all 258 days, but you do play a lot of days. He goes on different missions for the organization. You get to see the aftermath of Chain of Memories and what happened in that story. And you really get to see the relationship between Roxas and Axel form. So it's a really interesting side story. Right after that, we get Kingdom Hearts Recoded for the DS as well, and the gameplay is very similar to the previous DS game, so it's still a 3D action RPG, broken up into little mission-based segments. It follows up on the story from some of the previous games. I don't actually know too much about it because it's the one I spent the least time with, but as I'm going through the series now for my story retrospective, I'm going to get to it, so I look forward to that. Again, it's something that's kind of neat for the collection. The gameplay isn't really great, and the videos that come in later entries are a better way probably to experience it, but it's just worth mentioning. Right after that, we get the 3DS game, Kingdom Hearts 3D, which stands for Dream Drop Distance. This is the Mark of Mastery edition, which is basically the special edition. And I don't even remember what comes in here, so let's take a look. This is like a series of postcard art. You get a 3DS protector, which is kind of annoying because if there's so many different iterations of the 3DS, this only works with the original small version. And you get a little pack of AR cards, which I never used. This is a game that comes at the furthest point of the timeline so far. It stars Riku and Sora, who are taking their Mark of Mastery exam, which is basically the exam where they become official Keyblade Masters. So it builds on some of the stories introduced in a later game. Oh. I don't have one here. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3D, the story really builds on some concepts introduced in Birth by Sleep, which I totally forgot about and didn't put it out. But Birth by Sleep is a PSP game that really feels like a good follow-up to Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. It really feels like a Kingdom Hearts 3 before Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced. The DS games and Chain of Memories, they just kind of feel like half steps. They don't feel like a real Kingdom Hearts experience. And even Kingdom Hearts 3D, which I think came out after Birth by Sleep, doesn't play quite as smoothly as it. This game takes place 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1, and it stars a whole new cast of characters. It stars the 3 pupils training to be Keyblade Masters, and it sets up a lot of what happens in the later games. It shows where the villains come from. It answers some questions about Sora and why he's able to use a Keyblade. It's a really great kind of prequel to the series. While I'm mentioning prequels, I should mention that there's a mobile game out. It's based on a browser game from Japan, and it takes place even further before the series. So it's not essential, but it is interesting to note and to play if you can. I think it's a free download. There's a lot of missions in it, but it does start to fill in some of the lore from, way back in the series, so it'll help you get a better understanding of what's coming later. As far as we know for Kingdom Hearts 3, Birth by Sleep is going to be essential to know what happens in that game to understand what's going on in Kingdom Hearts 3. So, I highly recommend you checking out our other videos that come later to catch up on that or refresh yourself if you never played them. So that's all the individual Kingdom Hearts games that have come out. Now we're going to get into some of the collections that came later, and these are some of the best ways to play the series right now. So if you have the time, if you have the patience, this is something I highly recommend. First, we'll get into the PS3 collections. The first one that came out was Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix. This is, I think, the limited edition that came with a couple slips, a little kind of embedded art book, and a fancier case. So this finally gets the Japanese Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, so the 3D update, and it has all of the cutscenes from Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. They're just, you don't play the missions, you just watch the cutscenes. They're like 2.5 hours, so there's a lot to go through, but like I said, that's probably the best way to experience it because the gameplay isn't great in that one. Following up on that, we had Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix. This is a collector's edition, which I think was a Square Enix store exclusive. I might be wrong on that, but I think that was the case. This one comes with a couple interesting things. There's a metal pin that comes with it. There is the Art of Kingdom Hearts 2.5 art book, which is actually really nicely produced, but only, I don't know, like 20 or 30 pages. The game itself in a steelbook, and what's really interesting is the game also comes with Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Remix, with the collector's edition anyway, includes the original game as well, so that was interesting. And most importantly, the reason this box is so big, there is a stuffed Heartless, which is super cute. 2.5 Remix comes with Kingdom Hearts 2, the cutscenes from Recoded, and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. So it's a great collection to play some of those later Kingdom Hearts titles. After those came out, we got Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue for the PS4. So, a ridiculous title. This is a special edition that came with the game and a little pin that matches the other one. This comes with an HD version of Kingdom Hearts 3D, so you can finally play that on a console. And it comes with a new prologue chapter called Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, which basically shows what happens to one of the main characters after Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and is going to factor heavily into Kingdom Hearts 3. And it also comes with Kingdom Hearts X or Chi back cover. So if you remember that mobile game I mentioned earlier, Kingdom Hearts Chi, this is an hour-long CG movie that retells some of that story. So it doesn't go all the way as far as the mobile game does, but it does give you the backstory of the mobile game, the events leading up to the Keyblade War, and it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger because it doesn't completely finish that story. I don't think the mobile game has even finished that story yet because new missions are constantly being released. But again, it's a really cool HD movie to check out, something like Final Fantasy Advent Children or something like that, you know? And most recently, the best way to play the whole series, for PS4 we get Kingdom Hearts 1.5 2.5 HD Remix. So this is basically just both Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Remix and Kingdom Hearts 2.5 Remix, the PS3 versions released on PS4. There are some issues with it, mostly with Kingdom Hearts 2, technically, that make it maybe worth playing on PS3 instead. I don't know if they've patched those yet, so just be aware of that. But again, this is a great way to check out the whole series. So thanks for checking out this kind of series overview. It's a great series. I will caution you that the series starts off pretty simple with Kingdom Hearts 1, but by Birth by Sleep, it gets into full-blown anime bullshit. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, if you're not into crazy anime plot lines and ridiculous stuff, you know, even the combat gets really flippy and fast-paced. So if you're not into that stuff, you know, maybe it's not the best series for you. But we don't get many top-tier Japanese action RPGs, and it's a really cool series for that. So stay tuned for my story retrospectives, which will come up soon. Even if you've played these games before, you're probably going to want a refresher before 3 comes out. And thanks for checking us out. See you next time.